I choose to live a very frugal life, a life where every choice I make with my money feels intentional and honest. And even though some people think it looks strange from the outside, this way of living has brought me stability, calm, and a sense of control that I never want to lose. I know it may seem unusual when I say that I drink tap water instead of buying fancy drinks, or that I track every single cent that moves through my hands, or that I walk through my home at night without turning on unnecessary lights, or even that I spend far too long comparing the price of simple things like socks or toothbrushes. But all of these habits formed slowly, and they shaped the person I became. Many assume that a frugal lifestyle is about deprivation or about being cheap, but that is not what it is for me at all. My name is Alex, and for me, being frugal is a financial strategy, a philosophy about building freedom, and a way of removing stress from my daily life so that I can focus on what truly matters rather than being tied to endless expenses and expectations I never asked for. When I talk about frugality, I talk about being intentional with money instead of letting money control me. I talk about choosing needs over wants, not because wants are evil, but because wants never end and they drain the resources that could give me peace and long term security. I talk about saving without feeling like I am suffering, about avoiding the pressure to flex or to prove something to the world, about not spending money just to fit into a picture that someone else painted for me. I talk about respecting my time and my future self because every euro I save today is a little more stability tomorrow. And I talk to you directly because if you are here listening and it means something inside you is also questioning the weight of modern spending, the pressure to consume, the way money disappears without us noticing where it went. For me, everything started when I was young. I grew up learning that money came from effort, and I understood very early that nothing simply appeared in my hands without some work behind it. My dad taught me this without ever giving a lecture about finance. Instead, he showed it through small challenges like earning points for simple tasks and using those points to receive a reward I really wanted. I remember how long it took to reach that first big goal, and I remember how big the number felt at the time, almost impossible, but I kept going one point at a time, and the feeling of earning something through my own discipline stayed with me forever. Even as a child, I began noticing prices, deals, and savings. I remember looking for the best value at the supermarket, not because I had to, but because it felt like a game, and because saving even a little made me feel capable and aware. That sense of awareness followed me into adulthood, but it changed into something bigger. I realized that the more expensive my lifestyle became, the more I would have to work just to maintain it. And the more energy I would lose trying to keep up with trends that meant nothing to me. So I decided I did not want to live life on hard mode. I did not want to chase a lifestyle that forced me into constant productivity and burnout. I wanted a life where my cost of living was low enough that I could breathe, where I could choose how I spent my time, where I could work to live instead of living to work. And when I say this to people, they often look surprised, as if lowering your expenses is some strange thing that only extreme minimalists do. But lowering my expenses gave me the most valuable resource I have today: time, time to think, time to rest, time to enjoy people who matter, time to build financial security instead of constantly being behind on bills. Over the years, I learned an important distinction between status and wealth. Status is everything people show the world: their car, their clothes, their home, their vacations, their luxury purchases. Wealth is what nobody sees: the emergency fund, the investments, the savings, the stability, the ability to survive 1 month without income, the mental calm that comes from knowing you are not dependent on your next paycheck to stay afloat. Many people chase status because it is visible, and visibility brings validation, but wealth is silent. Wealth does not need applause. Wealth is the ability to say no to unnecessary stress, no to toxic work conditions, no to a life that constantly feels unstable. Wealth gives you choices, and choices are the foundation of freedom. That is why I choose frugality, not to appear anything to anyone, but to build the financial independence that gives me long-term peace. Another important part of why I am so frugal is the environment, because I cannot ignore the amount of waste the world produces every day. I realize that most companies are not trying to help us live better. They are trying to convince us to buy more, to replace things that still work, to chase an image we do not even want. And when I saw how quickly we go through clothes, electronics, furniture, and endless cheap items that break within months, I understood that frugality is not only a financial tool, it is also a way of reducing my impact. So I began using everything until it truly cannot be fixed. I began repairing instead of replacing. I began looking at my possessions not as disposable, but as items with a purpose and a lifespan. The result is that I save money, I reduce waste, and I free my space from clutter that adds no value. Clutter takes up energy, time, and even emotional space. And I realize that the less I own, the more clear my mind feels, and the more intentional I become with every purchase. My practical habits for saving money grew naturally from these beliefs. Every week, I look at what I already have at home and plan my meals based on that so that nothing goes to waste. I write a list and I follow it closely because a list protects both my budget and my discipline. I check which supermarket has the best prices that week. And I always bring my own bags because the small costs matter too. I buy store brands most of the time because the quality is almost always the same, and the difference in price is simply paying for a label someone else decided was valuable. I allow myself one meal out per week because it brings me joy, but everything else I cook at home. Cooking at home is one of the easiest ways to save money, and once you build the habit, it becomes natural instead of feeling restrictive. Housing, transportation, and insurance are the biggest expenses for most people, so I learned to manage them with intention. I live in a way that does not require a car, and selling my car was one of the best financial decisions I ever made. I bike or walk most of the time, and when needed, I use public transportation. I keep track of every contract I have, whether it is insurance, internet, or phone service. And when a better deal appears, I switch without hesitation. My loyalty is to my financial well-being, not to a company. At home, I turn lights off when I leave a room. I unplug electronics. I take shorter showers. I dry my clothes without a dryer. And I avoid waste in every small way possible. These habits may look insignificant, but they add up month after month, and the savings stack quietly until they become meaningful. Tracking my spending is one of the most powerful tools in my life. If you do not know where your money goes, you cannot control it. I write down every cent, and at the end of the month, I analyze my behavior. This is not a punishment, it is awareness. Finance begins with awareness. When I understand my patterns, I gain the ability to change them. I shop secondhand whenever possible, not only because it is cheaper, but because most of the time secondhand items are just as good as new ones, especially clothes and furniture. And when I buy something new, it is because the quality, the durability, or the ethics of the brand matter enough to justify it. Even though I save aggressively, there are areas where I spend without guilt. I invest in healthier food because health is more valuable than money. I invest in self-development, skills, and education because knowledge compounds and becomes one of the strongest assets in a person's life. I invest in travel when I can find a good deal because experiencing the world shapes my perspective and enriches my thinking. And I invest in mental health because a clear mind is one of the foundations of financial stability. Right now, I am finishing a no-buy challenge, and it has taught me how little I truly need. If you want to start saving but do not know where to begin, try 1 month without buying anything that is not essential. You will be surprised by how much clarity appears when the constant noise of consumerism disappears. A month of no buying can change your relationship with money more than any financial book. So, when people ask me why I am so frugal, the answer is simple. I am frugal because it gives me freedom. I am frugal because it gives me control. I am frugal because it lowers my stress, protects my finances, and helps me stay aligned with the life I want to build. And if you are here listening, maybe a part of you is ready to take a similar step toward a calmer, more intentional financial life. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And remember that every small saving is a step toward a stronger future. If this helped you, let me know with a like and subscribe, and I'll see you soon. Just a reminder, I'm not a financial advisor. This video is for educational purposes only, and any results depends on your decision and actions.